afternoon. I would like to call to order the meeting of May 24th, 2023 of the Palm Beach County Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. The Palm Beach TPA is conducting this meeting both in person and virtually using the Zoom webinar platform. Instructions to join the virtual meeting as well as contact information for assistance are provided in the published meeting agenda. So I will now lead us in the pledge. Will you please join me?
A Zoom webinar
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A Zoom webinar.
All right, so if we could go ahead and call the roll so we can establish our quorum, please.
At this time, I am only asking those board members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a board representative. And I apologize if I say your name wrong. Please feel free to correct me. Mallory Sanat. Nancy Yarnall.
Here.
Wendang.
Here.
Elisa Kramer.
Here.
Maria Lisa Amador. Marie Dorismond.
Yeah.
Angela Choice.
Here.
James Green. Vasti Amaro.
Here.
Robin Manuel. Merlene Remnon.
Here.
Laura Schultze is absent. Elizabeth Clark.
Here.
Robert Goodman. He is attending virtually, so we'll get to him in just a second. James Bonfiglio.
Here.
Michael Corbett. Lou Ferry.
Here. Get it?
Did it.
Takesha Saffold is, I believe, also participating virtually. And then Chelsea Reed.
Here, and I believe we had a member just join us as well.
Hi, Jerome Hill from the Agency for Healthcare Administration.
Thank you. And we do have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Melissa. Great job. I appreciate it. Do we have any modifications to the agenda today?
The following members are asking to participate remotely. We have Robert Goodman, Takesha Saffold, and okay, just those two.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So to my board, do we have any objections to allowing our members to participate remotely? All right, seeing none, these members are approved to join us remotely. Melissa, if you could allow them to attend and note it on our minutes, we appreciate that. All right, so we need to go on ahead and a motion, we're going to take a motion hopefully to approve our minutes from February 22nd of 2023. Are there any changes to our minutes? Okay, I don't see any. Could I get a motion to adopt the minutes as they've been presented, please?
I move to approve the minutes for the February 22, 2023 meeting.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Bonfiglio. May I get a second,
I
please?
second.
All right,
It's
second
Keisha.
from Angela Choice. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you so much. We've approved our minutes. We're going to move right on to our workshop summary. So this is going to be regarding our February 2023 public workshop summary. Are there any changes to the workshop summary? All right, seeing none, I would like a motion, please, and a second to pass this as well. This would be the motion to receive and file the February 22nd, 2023 TD public workshop summary.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion from Ms. Kramer. May I get a second, please?
Seconded.
All right, by Mr. Bonfiglio. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed. Motion passes. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. We're going to move on to public comments. Instructions on how to provide public comments are included in our agenda. Staff, do we have any comments from the public that have been received as of yet?
Not at this time.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Melissa. Moving right along. We're moving along really quickly. All right. So moving on to comments from the chair and members. what I'd like to do is continue with this. If we, unless we have someone who's online for any item not on the agenda already, or if you're participating remotely, let us know by raising your hand on the Zoom platform if you want to talk about anything that's not on the agenda. We will allow time at the end of the meeting to discuss some of our experiences, if that's okay, regarding our surveying and our rides as well. So we will make sure we have time for that. So this is items not on the agenda. We have nothing. Nope, nobody, no cards are up, and no one virtual land. Okay, super duper. We're moving right along today. Our LCB liaison report will be coming from Greg Gabrielle, our LCB liaison, to review the report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Greg Gabriel, LCB liaison. I'll be going over the report for you. Mr. Green is not here, but we want to welcome him as a representative for the Palm Beach County Community Action. Stacy has moved on to be the alternate for that seat. As you guys know, we did the CTC evaluation. I'll be presenting that to you today. There will be a workshop. It's the CTD annual workshop that happens every year. It's from August 29th to the 30th. And if you want more information, there's a link on the liaison report. You can visit that link to get more information on the CTD annual workshop. The TPA Governing Board meeting will be happening on the June 15 at 9 in the morning. That's both in person and virtually. And lastly, I have an open invitation to everyone who wants to review the agenda or have any questions. Feel free to contact me. There's a Calendarly link for a 15 minutes phone call. Feel free to call me if you have any question regarding anything about the agenda or any general question. And that's my report, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And for anyone who has not attended the CTD annual meeting in Orlando, it is extraordinary. I know you guys all work in this field, but it's a great place for everyone to come together and also to watch what we have here in Palm Beach County really shine, because you hear other stories about what's happening. So it's a great way to get some perspective. So I hope to attend. I hope some of our board might want to come along and let us know so we can arrange for that. Thank you, Greg, so much for that report. Does anyone have a comment regarding the report? Nope. All right, we'll move right on to our action items then. So our next action item is a motion to elect our vice chair. So according to the LCB bylaws, the LCB shall hold an organizational meeting each year for the purpose of electing a vice chair. The vice chair shall be elected by a majority vote of a quorum of the members of the LCB that are present and voting at the organizational meeting. The vice chair shall serve a term of 1 year, starting with the next meeting. The vice chair may serve more than one term. So Greg, if you could go ahead with the presentation, that would be great. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. I'll be just giving you a quick overview of the member duties as a refresher. We have done this presentation before at the training, so time has passed, and since we are this item on the agenda, we usually have a presentation to help member remember the contents. Oh, there you go. So I'd like to start with a brief overview of the different entities that make up the program for the TD. So the CTD is the general body that the members are elected by the governor of Florida. So their role is to coordinate TD services. We use the word DOPA, which is the planning body, which is the TPA. That's the role we play. And basically we assist the CTD in their efforts. And we provide services also working collaboratively with the CTC, which is known as Palm Trend Connection. And the LCB is you guys, the body, the member who are here basically as advisory to the CTC. No. So as the state statute 427 state, the LCB is advisory entity. And we have one in each of the county representing our area to basically provide assistance to the community for the CTC and relative transportation services. So we bring items to you guys and you guys bring recommendation to advise the CTC and take the recommendation to the CTD as well. So currently we have 19 members, all our seats are filled, but we also need vacancies. Our vacancies are empty, so that's 9 of them. So to you guys, please, it's helpful if you are not able to be here and to elect somebody for as an alternate for you. And that helps with the meetings and maintain quorum if you're not able to come. And when the time of unexcused absent, if you have 3 unexcused absent, you basically will lose your seat. This is as we had agreed on it on the bylaw. And for excused absent, it's 1 business day to give us notice. And that help us basically to know with those quorum if we have to cancel the meeting. So it kind of help organize everyone's schedules. So duties, this is the roles and the action that you guys are tasked to do. And those are mandated by the CTD. It's 4 meetings in a year, that's fiscal year we go by. And for example, today will be appoint a vice chair and the CTC evaluation I'll be presenting to you. And I believe there, no, not the OR, I think we have the, I mystically allied the AOR, but we have a model transportation model to review. Sorry about that. But these are the tasks here before you that you guys are tasked to do. And we have done all days, believe it or not, we have went out to do all days and you guys approve and appoint members to the grievance committee. So, and every year we do these tasks. So for voting, if you are present, you basically are charged to vote. You cannot abstain yourself from voting. And this is stated on the bylaw as a charge to you, all the members. And this meeting today is the end of the fiscal year 23 meeting. And I just want to show you the next year, fiscal 24. Please mark your calendars, mostly for the quarterly meetings. That's for the entire fiscal year. And like I mentioned, make notes and hold on your calendar for those future meeting days for the fiscal year 24. And that will conclude my presentation, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you so much, Craig. Staff, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, great. So what I'll be doing next is I will be asking for a nomination for vice chair. If you have one, please place your card upright or raise your hand on the feature and you are allowed to self-nominate. So do we have any nominations for vice chair or am I going to volunteer told someone to do it? I would really like, I would really like it if someone who's been on the board for a little while, is familiar, has a good attendance record, would throw their hat in the ring and join me. I promise I'll come almost every meeting. Oh, we have a card up. Okay.
Hi, Madam Chair. I'd like to volunteer for the position of Vice Chair. I've been on this committee for 2 years. I'm a transportation engineer. I've worked in this industry for over 15 years. I am currently working on many microtransit projects within this county and also is an advocate for mobility equity within our region. So I'd like to volunteer.
Thank you very much. And also what Ms. Dang is not mentioning is she does also chair our Citizens Advisory Committee as well. So you're well versed in TPA and I really thank you so much for putting yourself out there. So with that, we will close the nominations. Congratulations. Yeah,
We
oh,
have it.
I'm
We have
so
one
sorry.
more. Yep.
Okay, we have a card up. Okay, we have Takesha Saffold. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I
I'm so
wanted
sorry to
know-
interrupt you. We're having a very difficult time hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me a little better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. The presentation that was given, I was wanting to know if it's possible if I can have a copy of it. And also I was interested in continuing to serve as vice chair, which I have done for the past year and a half. If given the opportunity, I would like to continue to serve as vice chair up under Mayor Chelsea Reed. And I've been a part of this board since 2017. And I serve as a consumer as well as an advocate. And I provide ADA and sensitivity training for our transportation companies here locally. So it would be a pleasure to continue to serve as vice chair if given the opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. That means we're going to go to a roll call vote. Just one moment. So I'll be going through the names on our roll call. If you would be so kind as to mention the last name of the person you would like to have serve as vice chair as we go through.
Madam Chair, just
Yes, sir.
a point of order. Do the nominations have to be seconded?
I don't believe so. No, not
No?
for this.
Okay.
But thank you so much. I appreciate that. Robert's Rules of Order is a very important thing and we like to do it well. So yeah, we did check on that. So I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So and if I'm incorrect, we'll find out, but that's what I've been told. So we're sticking with it. All right. So I'm going to call your name. If you could mention the last name of the two applicants for vice chair, we have either Saffold or Dang. So we're going to go through. Mallory Senat is not here. Nancy, please. Nancy Yarnall. Okay, great. And Wen Dang.
Dang.
All right, thank you. Elisa Kramer. Got to pick one. You're here. Listen, into the mic, and I'll tell you what. While you're turning your mic on, one of my best friends is Commissioner Maria Marino, and we've had to do this against each other a couple of times. It doesn't change anything. It really doesn't. We're all leaders. We're all here representing something important for a greater good. So that's really what counts. All right, go ahead, Elisa.
Thank you. Saffold.
Okay, thank you so much. And we're moving on to, I'm sorry, was it Jeremy or Jerome? I apologize, Jerome.
Dang.
Okay, thank you. And Marie.
Dang.
All right, thank you. Angela Choice.
Dang.
All right, thank you so much. And hi, James Green, welcome to our board. So you're going to need to push the little button at the bottom of your microphone and choose.
Which one is the incumbent?
The incumbent's name is Saffold as the last name and Dang as the last name for the volunteer. All right, thank you so much. All right, Basti Amar.
Dang.
All right, thank you so much. We're moving on. Robin Manuel is not here today. My bad. Merlene Ramnon.
Dang.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Elizabeth Clark.
Dang.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Goodman is online.
Mr. Goodman, if you could unmute yourself, please.
All right, why don't we come back to him or see if maybe he could type it in. So Mr. Goodman, if you can hear me, if you'd be so kind as to vote for vice chair. And you can either enter the name Saffold or Dang. Saffold is spelled Saffold and Dang is spelled Dang. So we're going to go on to Mr. Bonfiglio.
Saffold.
Thank you. And Michael Corbett's not here. And I don't believe Lou votes. And Takesha Saffold. Your vote, please.
Saffold.
All right. So did we hear back from Mr. Goodman? All right.
Mr. Goodman, are you able to unmute your mic? You are still muted.
Well, he's not. in
Webinar.
person. Okay.
I think I did. Muted. All plus A.
Saffold.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. All right, if I'm correct, and I'll have my staff back me up, we have a vote of 8 for Dang and 5 for Saffold. So congratulations and thank you so much for volunteering, Ms. Dang. We are happy to welcome you as our vice chair. And let me just double check, make sure we're doing everything right. All right, that's it. Congratulations. We'll move right on for the rest of our agenda and our action items. We're moving on to item B, which is the motion to approve fiscal year 2022 Community Transportation Coordinator Evaluation findings and recommendations, something that we've been waiting to hear about. So we are required by Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged to annually renew their performance and complete the CTD evaluation workbook. TPA staff are going to review it and give us a summary. So I'm going to invite Greg once again to present this for us and share the presentation. Thank you, sir.
And I did just want to note for the minutes that James Green did join the meeting.
Thank you so much, Cassidy.
Good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. It has been an exciting time doing this evaluation. So I'll give you an overview of the presentation of what we have done and what you guys have done. So I'll be covering the evaluation overview, the result for the survey, findings and recommendations that we find, and the next steps. So as required by the CTD, these are the areas that have to be covered during this evaluation process. This area, if you look at the CTD workbook that's online, there's a section for all these areas where we review those items in collaboration with Palm Trend. If you guys remember, back in February 22nd, we came before you and present the timeline of this process. So there's a CTD workbook, which it's really a desktop review where we work with Palm Trend and really reviewing documents and then really have conversations. And thank you, Lou, for his help during this process. And you all have placed phone calls. I gave you a list of about, I believe, 20 or 40 names. And you guys had to call numerous people and have phone call survey. And I can't wait to hear your findings. And also the TPA also went on and administered a web survey where we send the links and we share it with the different members in the community. And also we had observation ride where you guys ride on Palm Trend connection. And we are here today with presenting these findings to you. So we had 9 observational ride. So we did meet our target. Before we had 6 and we did meet the target of 9 and 113 phone calls was made. That's your guys' work here, all those phone calls. And we over 2,400 emails was sent, and part of that was 3 direct mail from Palm Trend list. And then we share it to our newsletter. The TPA send a newsletter every Tuesday. And then we share that on social media as well. And the 263 online survey respondent, that's from that direct mailing we sent and the social media responses from the survey. So very happy to see those results and really happy to see the 113 phone calls. So the result here, you can see some of the questions we ask and you guys ask as well. For example, how often do normally obtain transportation? We can see here 3 to 5 weeks is one of the number that stand out where customers, Palm Trend customers really using the transportation system. I just want to point out the order is, I checked what does that mean? It's really people that did not use the transportation between the weekly period. So that can be people that use it on a monthly basis. And on the chart that asks if they were denied transportation, you can see Palm Trend Connection really do not deny people transportation. So most people are being served in the system. And on here, you can see the type of use. There's a lot of medical usage. And this data may be different from what you saw in the AOR, because in the AOR, it was employment that was the leading indicator. But this survey covered the last, I believe, 6 months of the customers. So that may be different. I saw that when I was comparing it with other data, that the survey, the people we survey were reporting medical reasons was the reason why they use the transportation system, but the AOR showed that employment was the leading indicator. So I just want to point that out in case you guys also catch that information. As far as challenging, you see on the right side of the screen, late pickup, stand out, late return. And that's multiple factors, that driver shortage, traffic during peak hours. But you will see in the findings how we try to solve that challenge. And this chart here reference costs. As you know, the customers are charged $3.50. That's the charge they charge, but we want to show you the co-payment that being charged. And the word cloud here show you the sentiment for the customers, really what transportation means to them. And you can see the work, trips, freedom, abilities, medical appointments. You can gauge of what does it means to them to have this transportation service being available to them. So now we move over to the key findings. I did provide a more detailed list for you on the sheet at your desk. On the slide here is mostly a summary of the findings. So if you want to review that list for more details, but I did provide that. So in the general question category, we find those findings here where there's a high demand for public transit, the cost increase, that's the cost increase that PalmTran have to pay to provide a service, the discount rate they provide. So the service to transport the passengers are continuously increase. Low passenger per mile, employment make up the largest portion of the trip. And we have basically a conflict with the matrix. That's the window between the time they pick up and then the appointment for the customer. We find that those two doesn't match, and it's hard to meet those two targets at the same time. I have to say, even though these are findings, doesn't mean that this is horrible or anything bad. It's just something that we found during the evaluation that we are reporting to you for your knowledge and information. So we did have some recommendation on those findings. Really, it's basically help riders transition from the paratransit to the fixed route if possible. Sometimes you just cannot help someone transition because of their needs and ability, so they have to use the service. But whenever possible, is help them transition, and that's being done for interview during the application period. They really qualify them to see if they can use the fixed route system. Also provide more educational material, workshops, pilot feeder transit system. That's if with the distance being so wide, the county is pretty wide. So if you can take customers to a hub, that can possibly help. And also the city can advocate. And when I spoke with Lou, this is not really something they can do outright to actually change the matrix, because that was mandated to them. But that's why we call it advocation. So if possible, they can do it, but it's not something they can outright do. Findings for the chapter 427 is we find out that PalmTran is not using school buses. There's a recommendation by the CTD for them to use school buses. We find it's a challenge to actually do that. Increase bus passes for paratransit customers. And we also discovered that even though COVID seems to be over, but there's still lingering part of COVID still impacting service, and ongoing interviews to match customers. And also part of the requirement from the CTD is to have an employment agreement, and CareerSource is our local employer here, that to find an innovative way to actually collaborate. And our recommendation is to increase the conversation. Pumptrain have tried numerous times to try to come up with an agreement. It's pretty challenging to find it. In the past, they gave bus passes to interviews, but there is nothing in place right now. But because it's a requirement from the CTD, we are trying to actually find an innovative way to provide services. And the goal, measure goals section, again, like I mentioned, even though we see unmet goals, it doesn't really mean it's horrible, especially for on-time performance, which the requirement is 90%. But sometimes you cannot meet this 90% if there's peak traffic. So like I mentioned, so they meet the call hold. Basically, they're not leaving customer on hold for a long period of time. So that's good, because when I was at their headquarters, there's multiple people working on the phone all the time, drivers calling and customers calling, where's my ride, and troubleshooting. So I always applaud Lou for the great work he's doing. And when you go to his office, you see numerous people just working, and it's a phenomenal job that Pumptrain Connection is doing. And as a recommendation is basically for them to keep on working and trying to see how can they improve the goal that are unmet. So these findings are strictly from the survey portion from the online survey. And these are part of the, in the additional comment section that I took these concern with on-time performance that the members alluded to, which we already find. Late pickup, we can see some of these repetitive from the charts. Frustration with the cash payment system. Customers had to actually hand out the payment, so they really want to see if there's a way to pay digitally. Some of the vehicles are overbooked, and then inconsistent with the drivers and the gated communities. So some of them, when you come to pick up, there's a gate, and if the gate officer or the guard doesn't know, then you could potentially make the customer be late, and that impact on-time performance. So that's something that I'll hope to see Pumptrain trying to find a solution. And that's basically try to standardize that process to see if there is a way that there's an agreement that can come up where drivers can actually go through the gate, almost like similar to emergency, when they know, because the buses are branded. So they should be able to know if this person is on a branded bus from Pumptrain Connection, that they have the right to be here to pick up somebody. So even for the request to help the tardiness, if possible, to have using cell phone to send messages, your ride is coming, pick out traffic. So almost like keep the customer in the loop, that it doesn't build frustration to help minimize some of the complaints. And the next step from here is really working with submitting this report, which is the CTD workbook, submitted back to the CTD, which is at the state level, and they will review the document, provide feedback to Pumptrain, the CTC, and that will be within 30 days. And also Pumptrain have to provide a response. So there is an ongoing work from here. I think the task for the LCB is done, but really when we submit this to the CTD, they will actually review it and give us feedback, and then we'll do this whole process again next year. And for my final slide, I would like to thank really the bus drivers. I did my observational ride, and the drivers are very nice, and they're trying to serve, as you can see in the picture, the gentleman on the wheelchair, and just the driver just helping them. And also thank you guys, the board members and TPA staff. Cassidy really helped with the online survey. She actually really helped me with that portion. And Lou also for his staff, they were very welcoming. I have a remote office now at Punching Connection. And that's my presentation, Madam Chair.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Greg, so much. So staff, do we have any public comments on this item at all?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, lovely. Thank you so much. So this is a good time to get some cards upright. Let's hear about our board's thoughts and perspective. For those of us who did take a ride, I'd love to hear about that. And then we also, just before the meeting, we're having some casual conversation about what we could do for next year as a board to be more collaborative and hopefully do an even better job. So if you guys have any suggestions like that, I'd love to see your cards. So I'll start over here to my left, Elisa.
Thank you. Just congratulations and thank you to the staff, to Lou and his team. I was able to make the 40 calls, and of those 18 riders participated, and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Always thankful to have the service. Those reasons were those primary needs, medical, employment, grocery shopping, those types of things. And there were a couple of customers who actually just had questions outside of the survey just about processes, and Lou was very responsive, and I appreciate that as well. And thank you for the electronic opportunity to upload the surveys as we went along.
All right, excellent comments. Thank you, Elizabeth.
I really enjoyed the opportunity to go on the ride. I had excellent service. We did mention, though, that Jane Doe is probably not the most efficient name. I think it screamed out that, that I was like a secret shopper, so to speak. And the other customers on the transit with me were so welcoming. I also didn't think to bring cash. I had to run back and go grab that, so I stalled the ride a little bit, or I slowed it down a bit. So I just wanted to note that. And then my calls were definitely not as successful. I had a lot more trouble with that. I had, I think, 8 successful completed surveys, and then the rest were either no voicemail or no return phone calls. I did try to call at least twice, and then I did have a couple language barriers where I did try to have somebody help with interpretation, but then we weren't able to get a good time. I really enjoyed the opportunity. I'm just probably not the best the best suited for it, but I look forward to doing a better job next year.
Oh, come on, guys, let's get some cards up. So I'll go ahead. I usually like to have the chair go last. Mr. Bonfiglio.
Hi, I guess we're commenting on the rides first, correct?
Whatever
Yeah.
you want. This
All right,
is,
we're gonna
you're
comment
the
on the
board
ride
member. You
first.
can choose.
The drivers were excellent. They were polite. They were well-mannered. They were uniformed. They were instructive. The vehicles were clean. And they operated and functioned correctly, including the air conditioner, which is a very important function in South Florida. And helpful. And let me explain the helpful. As the driver pulled away from my house, we went across the front, and just coincidentally, one of my 4 dogs knocked out a slat in my fence. So I asked him to stop, and he went back around the corner and pulled back in the driveway. He gave me the opportunity to nail the slat back to the fence. So I have 4 dogs, so the dogs would not escape. And it was just very helpful and thoughtful, and it was not a problem to take care of my personal emergency. And I thought that was great. Same thing with the ride back. The driver was polite and uniformed, informative. And I think my ride back, they had to pick somebody else up. And they all followed the speed limit. So it was a very good experience that I had in the drive. I'm sorry?
Did you want to talk about your phone calls as well, or just the rides?
I could talk about the phone calls, yeah.
Sure.
I spent like 3 days on the phone. A lot of people were left messages. And maybe a handful called back. I called the second time, people left messages, didn't get a return call from many of them. But I did speak to a number of people and all the feedback was very positive. The recurring, not recurring, but when I would get a negative, it would be the driver was not timely getting there. But when I inquired further of these people, the bus or the vehicle had 2 or 3 passengers already, which probably led to the fact that they had to pick up people before and slowed them down a little bit. So that would have been the only real negative comment. Everything else was positive. They were needed for employment, for groceries, for medical appointments, and help people sustain their daily life, which I thought was, you provided an absolutely critical function to the residents of Palm Beach County.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Green.
All right.
Oh, push the button. Again,
Can you
yeah,
hear
there
me?
you go. Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
thank you. First
Go
of
ahead.
all, I just want to say thanks to Lou and I think Charlie Clinton and the whole PalmTran Connection team for the wonderful work they continue to do. Awesome partners, awesome service for our community. I had a quick question about your slide. Can you go back to the slide that shows the graph that the reason they're taking PalmTran Connection? Are you able to do that?
Yes, hold
Okay.
on.
Okay, yeah, that one. Yeah, so it looks like the medical appointments is the main reason, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, all right, because I was trying to see some of the general questions on page 1 of this report. It talks about the largest share was employment. I thought I read that employment, going to work was the largest share, so I wanted to get some clarification on that. And then also, I'm just curious because I know that employment for those who are disadvantaged it's really important and linked to the work that we do. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the recommendations and ways that we can ensure that people are getting to work on time and making sure that they're not losing? It's already difficult to get people with disadvantages to work. So I'm just curious to know what type of recommendations are being put in place to ensure that they're getting there on time.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay,
Oh,
go ahead.
oh.
And Lou's also available.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was trying to explain that earlier with the AOR when I mentioned that on the AOR employment was the number one. I believe it was 500,000 trips that was employment when we adopt on the AOR. What I was trying to explain earlier is the timing of the survey, which is the survey pool, which is a random selection on the time of the fiscal year. It just happened that medical trips was the largest pool. But when you factor in the AOR, which is
What is the AOR?
Lou, can you help me there?
Annual operating report. So,
Oh,
I-
okay. I'm
so
sorry.
this is just a random polling of passengers. So for the people that were polled, this is the demographics and what happened before
see.
PalmTran Connection. Overall, employment is number one.
Okay.
And then
gotcha.
it's medical.
What we
Gotcha.
did in our group. Yeah.
But
Good.
sure, if you want me to answer some of the questions, so.
Okay.
Are you?
Go ahead, you're the operator. You
So
probably do
for the
better than
record,
me.
Luke Ferry with PalmTran. So I appreciate that. First of all, for answering, I want to really say thank you to everyone for participating because you guys are one of the most active boards that are out there. There's not many LCV boards that actually go on trips and call people. It's normally done by the planning agency and things like that. And that's what's unique is we try and have an interaction with you guys so you understand what's going on out there. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So as far as your question, I'll go backwards a little bit. So before the pandemic, we didn't have enough buses. So we were buying more buses, and that was a good thing because we were replacing buses. Then the pandemic came, and we had the correct amount of resources, but of course we had didn't have as many riders, and we had to modify the way we did things to keep people socially distanced. Then when COVID started to or everything opened up and we started taking people around again, all of a sudden we had a driver shortage. So the impact of the driver shortage is why our on-time performance is so far down that where we wanted to be. Right. Today, actually, interestingly enough, today was about 85 to 86% because there's some schools that have already closed. On Tuesday of next week, we'll be back over 90%. So when school's in session, I actually brought this. So the number one place that we actually provide service to is the Palm Beach Hab Center.
Okay.
Palm Beach Hab Center.
So that's
Number two is Palm Beach School for Autism. Number 3 is the Boca Hab Center. Number 4 would be the ARC. And then we have South Tech, VA Medical Center, Belglade Dialysis, JARC, and Gulfstream Goodwill. And then Atlantis Academy is number 10.
Okay.
But there's a lot of schools on there. So also, I'm from New Jersey, but there's just so many parents that take their kids to school during the school that the traffic is amazing. I mean, it's packed during those peak times. And it's just really difficult for us to provide the service we need to. Now, when we have the right amount of resources and the right environment, we'll say, we're at that 90% and it's good. But we do have some things, because you asked the question, what are we doing? We do have some things coming up in the near future that we're trying to do. So we just signed an emergency contract for 2023 with MV and First Transit. There are 2 providers. Okay. With that, MV brought in a new DBE, new disadvantaged business enterprise company called Procal, and they're providing some more drivers. So that's some relief right there. They were doing work with MedWaiver, non-emergency transportation. Now they're coming over to us. On the First Transit side, we're going to try and be a little bit more innovative. So on the First Transit side, they're going to bring a Uber and Lyft type service called UServe. UServe is a compliant Uber and Lyft service. And that compliant Uber and Lyft service called UServe, which means that the drivers are drug and alcohol tested. They have the same type of training as a PalmTran driver. But they're going to be TNC, meaning they're going to be Uber and Lyft type drivers. It's not going to be a cutaway from PalmTran Connection, but it's going to be another overflow that we can use during peak time. Now, the really cool part is we're also bringing Lyft in. So Lyft is coming in, but that's going to be done as a rider's choice program. So what that means is that if Mr. Smith, or some of the people you've talked to, where Mr. Smith rides the service and goes to dialysis, let's say, Mr. Smith is going to sign off a piece of paper saying, now I'm going to choose to take Lyft. And we will pay for Lyft. They'll pay the $3.50. We're going to try and do this strategically. And at first, we're going to target those that we know are going, like those employment trips, the dialysis trips, subscription trips that we know are going all the time. So then we can concentrate more on the on-demand trips that we don't know are coming every day. So most of the trips that we get for next day come in between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock the day before they wish to travel. Because of course it's hard to plan, So this Lyft program is going to be really cool, but we just want to make sure we do it the right way. Because the one thing we don't want to happen is for them to create more trips, because then it won't be cost effective, right? So now that they have this 1-seat trip where it's just them in the vehicle and they can go anywhere they want. So then the next part is we'll probably look at Mr. Smith's trip trend, and he takes 50 trips a month. Well, that's the amount of trips you could take on Lyft. You can't take 100 because then it doesn't make sense. We've created more and it's going to cost more. So we have some really cool things going on right now with that's going to be coming up. But we almost have a party every time school's out. So
Yeah.
We'll have some on-time performance coming back next week. Hopefully I answered that. So
Yeah, you did. And thank you very much. I think those are some very innovative strategies to mitigate the issue. And of course, those nonprofits you mentioned are agencies we fund, so I'm not as concerned about them losing their jobs. I know they're very flexible in working with them. I did have one other question, but I know we have to move the agenda, so.
Well, it's up to you. We can see if we can make it brief. Do you feel like?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty brief. I was looking at the cost. So there was no one that mentioned No, that was the right slide. That you were on the correct slide.
Okay.
So cost was something that no one mentioned. So I'm just curious as to, I know that Broward and I think Miami-Dade went to the voters and they have a dedicated funding stream for transportation. And I'm wondering if, if cost is not a factor, is that something that we're looking to do potentially, is go to the voters for a dedicated funding stream? And if so, how would cost not being a factor impact our decision on that?
So I think the slide for cost was that it was how much they paid for a copay, which is weird because we don't deny anyone in. I think it was, the question up there was they paid more, which doesn't make sense. Maybe they paid a tip or something like that, but it's
Yeah.
$350 each one way.
Yeah,
Or
no matter what.
Senior Services, our DOS program is
Right.
free. Now, when you talk about the cost of the service, most of the service, which we'll get to with the TD rate model, which is next, is ad valorem taxes from Palm Beach County. Yes, you're right. Miami had a one set tax 10, 15 years ago. Broward got theirs. On April 25th, we did bring a workshop to the Board of County Commissioners. It was mentioned that we would possibly look into taking that to the voters of Palm Beach County. I don't think the commissioners were up for that just yet. So that's Mr. Forbes is going to have quite a fight there to see what we can do there. But we've seen the success around the state with that and how it's brought other services and better services to the citizens. So hopefully we can get that done. But yeah, we're hoping to do that.
Good
That is an
questions.
initiative.
And I should say, Dr. Green, I'm sorry.
All right, that's
I think
fine.
I'll just go
James
back
is
to
fine.
first names again. All right, and then if I could chip in a little bit for the transportation surtax, we're considered to be one traveling public here, right? Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, but it kind of stops here, right? Because we don't have that. And finding the appetite for our voters to be willing to tax themselves to get around more easily will be an interesting battle that will have to be, collaboratively joined together with our municipalities, our county, and our economic development community. So I hear footsteps. I don't hear an army, but I'm hopeful that we can do all we can in the next 6 to 8 years to try to get something like that on the ballot one day. So thanks for asking. So I don't see any other cards, but if you guys would allow me the moment to comment. First of all, thank you so much to all of our board and our staff that did take the ride. I've never done anything like that before in my life. It was extraordinary because you got to see people taking care of each other with love and compassion, and you don't see that very often every day. In watching it, you can see when you actually sit there on that bus for several hours, why it runs late. So when people have different abilities, it's not always visible, right? But that's one of the most important things that people need to realize about this service. If you see someone taking a Palm Tran Connect that looks like me, that doesn't mean that they aren't having something that they deserve to be there. So first of all, the vetting process for someone to be on that bus is a true and valid process. Then the bus driver is also caring for these people while safely getting them to somewhere that they need to go. It reminded me being a mom of a 6-month-old and a 1.5-year-old at about the same time and having them in the back seat. That was pretty rough. I was late places a lot, right? Imagine that, but this is not your family. These are grown people who are amazing. They're getting to work. They're being productive. They have healthcare issues. They're getting to their healthcare. And this driver is responsible for that. And I saw the driver that I observed trying to get into a gate for about 10 or 15 minutes, right? So that's a real issue. Then there was traffic. Then I know the drivers here aren't so great, especially during season. So we were dealing with that as well. And then a couple of the riders that were getting off and on required a tremendous amount of assistance, or they didn't come to the bus right away, or they didn't come to the door right away. So the driver was parking safely, stopping the car, getting out, and then getting the rider onto the bus safely and happily, and then getting back in again and delivering that person to where they needed to go. There's no way that process should go quickly, right? It wouldn't be respectful. So I'm so thankful that the TPA allowed our board this opportunity. I know that a lot of the funding for this rests in the decision-making of our county commissioners. And would love to challenge. I behoove our county commissioners. I hope it's available for them to actually get on one of these buses like we did and experience it before they vote on it. I think all of us take our votes seriously. I know I do as an elected official. If I'm going to put my name down on something, I'm going to learn everything I can about it. I'm going to read my agenda. I'm going to read my backup. I'm going to ask people questions. So if the county commission does wind up doing anything with rate changes, I would hope that they, as good elected officials, would have gone for at least one ride for at least an hour, 1 hour of their life before they make a decision that can affect thousands and thousands of residents and their ability to have a quality of life. That is, we're taking care of the people who need the most help. And I think that is the measure of society. So that's my challenge and I love our county commission, but to really understand what transit disadvantaged service looks like, I think you have to write it. I'd love to find out about Career Source. And if we have I know we have someone on our board from Career Source. So if there's anything we can do to sort of be a catalyst for that conversation, if that's helpful to you, but it sounds like you've worked on some wonderful opportunities instead. And the information, Lou, that you just shared about where the buses primarily go, could you provide that to the TPA so we can share it with our board? I think that's something that we should all really keep in mind as we go forward. And let me see, I think that was about all I wanted to just say is that, again, kudos to the staff and again, for our commissioners as they're making these decisions. Also, maybe spending even 15 minutes at your office and watching all of the calls that come in and the quality assurance that takes place on the daily basis. When Lou mentioned earlier that you were at 86% for lateness, was it what you said? I'm sorry for because of the schools, but it's usually 90. They're keeping track of it all day. It's like DEFCON, right? You're watching the DEFCON numbers going up and down all day. So much is going into making sure that people are arriving safely. And so that's my little soapbox. So I'm going to stop and we're going to approve this because this is an action item, or you can vote either way. So I'm seeking a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2022 Community Transportation Coordinator Evaluation Finding and Recommendations. We have no further discussion. Yep. So sorry. Motion from Mr. Bonfiglio. Can I get a
To
second?
approve the fiscal year 2022 Community Transportation Coordinator Evaluation Finding and Recommendations as set forth in our agenda, action item number 2B.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you so much. We have a second and the motion passes. And again, thank you all so much for the time it took. We do have to do a roll call vote for this, right? No, we don't.
Just all in favor or opposed?
Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks. Thanks, guys. All right. So we're moving on. This is going to be very interesting. This is where we get to talk about what it costs. So we're going to have Lou present the CTD trip equipment and rate model for 2023 and 24. So the CTC must annually submit trip rates for the upcoming fiscal year to receive the trip and equipment grant. So PalmTran is going to go ahead and give us an update on the trip rate. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to sit down because I have a lot of stuff. In case you have questions. So first of all, this is a very confusing thing, this transportation rate model. So when the TD Commission tried to put this rate model together years and years ago, for those that don't, I've been with PalmTran for 21 years now, over 21 years. They tried to do this in the fact that you got to remember our state is pretty large. We have rurals and we have rurals and urban counties, but we all kind of do this a little bit differently. But they tried to make a rate model where everything, when you plug in these numbers, everything should come out the same and really show you how much transportation really costs in the county or the area that the CTC is in. So really with the TD rate model includes a program description of the area, how the rates are established using miles, costs, trips, and I'm going to show you the impact of the changes to the rates and talk about the rates a little bit. And then the thing I want you guys to understand mostly is that the TD allocates the funds. So the Transportation Disadvantage has a trust fund. The amount that Palm Beach County gets for that trust fund is going to be billed 1/12 no matter what our rates are. So our rates could be $1, but we're still getting 1/12 of that allocation. Our rates can be $100. That just means we're buying less trips. So that's just a thought process there. So this slide right here, I wanted to show you that this is actually the amount that we received from the trust fund for the year 2022, 2023. So we received $3,197,000 $80 from the trust fund, okay? Now, we're supposed to match that by 10%, which is about $355,000. Now, there is a voluntary dollar contribution, which it's probably one of my dollars, since when you do your registration, now that there's so many different things you could choose, but you can actually choose to donate $1 to the TD Commission. It used to be a lot higher, so we need to promote that a little bit more. And then we actually have to match that by 10% as well. First thing to look at here is, so the total project costs for the transportation disadvantage is about $3.5 million. What the county does is to sustain the program here in Palm Beach County, we put in another $3 to $4 million over that. So we're only supposed to put 355,000 in, but we put just about the same amount in to keep it going. Okay. Now, other counties in Florida, which your board, this LCB has the power to do, is because of funding constraints, or because if we want to stay within that $3.5 million, they would put trip priorities. Like they would say, okay, for the TD funds, we're only going to provide service for education, employment, and medical, and that's it. So recreation, all those other things we can't do. Or they do trip limits. Trip limits meaning, okay, let's take the $3.5 million, which on the bottom there, it shows that each month we would receive $290,660 that we can bill. So we would take that in 30 days, cut it down and say, okay, every day there's 57 trips, let's say. But once we hit the 57 trips, nobody else gets a trip. And there's counties that do that. They put trip limits. Or this also allows us to charge whatever we want for our trips. So we could actually charge $10 a trip if we wanted to, $5 a trip. We charge $3.50. So that's an idea of how this whole thing goes. So no matter what these rates are that we're going to get to in a second, again, we're only getting 1/12 of that $3.5 million. Anything above that, Palm Beach County is chosen. We've chosen to do that. So it's not a requirement. We've chosen to do that. So the proposed rates, this just kind of breaks it down so you guys understand it. For 2020, 2021, the rates were $65.74 ambulatory. Ambulatory means you do not use a mobility device. Non-ambulatory means wheelchair, a mobility device. And it was $112.70. Well, the TD Commission came back to us and said, are you sure you want to do that? Because you'll buy less trips. If you buy less trips, that's going to reduce the amount you're going to get for the grant. So we actually revised it in 2021-22 for $42.62 and $73. Then they came back to us and said, you sure you're going to buy less trips? You're going to get less funds. So 2022-2023 rates were $39.91 for the ambulatory and $68.41 non-ambulatory. Okay, so that was the 22-23 rates. So calculating using what you guys see as a PDF in your file with the miles and costs and all that, we came with $69.18 ambulatory and $118.59 for non-ambulatory. So again, if we did that, we'd buy less trips. So what we decided to do is, which we have the ability to do, is we can set the rate as something reasonable and fair. So we decided, why don't we take the ambulatory rate from last year of $39.91 and make the ambulatory and non-ambulatory the same? Because there's two different ways that CTCs bill, meaning when they provide the trips, they can bill by hour or by trip. We bill by hour. So when MV and First Transit go out for the day and that driver has a 12-hour or 11-hour shift, 10-hour shift, we bill by hour. Okay, but Broward does it by trip. So there's advantages and disadvantages to that, but per trip, the provider tends to force the people on the bus, and the service isn't as good because they per trip. If I can put 4 people on that trip, I can get paid 4 times for that. And it's like herding cattle and they just throw them in there. So we were per hour. So we decided, since there's no difference between per trip for us, we decided $39.91. What that means is we don't charge differently for an ambulatory trip or a wheelchair trip. So we just wanted to keep everything the same. Okay, so that's the thought process that we're having. Now, it allows us, this is just a snapshot, it does allow us to enter what we would like the rate to be. So $39.91 again seems reasonable that we thought. The conditions we have right now too to take into consideration is, I told you we're in a 1-year emergency contract with MV and First Transit. So the costs went from the 7th year of the old contract, the rates were about $39 an hour for our providers. Well, now they're over $50 an hour. So everything's going up in the world, right? I mean, parts, everything's going up 30%, something like that. So we also thought about this within the rate model to say, we're in a very volatile state right now too, because we really don't know what's going on with the service. So we felt that these rates would be commensurate for what we need to do in the county right now. We will be putting an RFP out to get new providers for next year. So again, we just wanted to make sure that we kept it kind of consistent from last year. Again, I keep saying this, TD allocates the funds based on trips billed, not on all TD trips provided. So the goal was not to reduce the number of TD trips we billed. And keep in mind, the current TD service that we do out there will not be affected by this because we will continue to provide the service that we're providing now, no matter what the rate is. So again, I probably am hammering in this too much, but if we were to provide the rates at the calculated rate, we'll just move on. We would lose 38,196 billed trips. So that means those trips would not be in the allocation, which means our grant would go down. So this is just a snapshot to show you that if we use the rates that we're supposed to be using, we would buy less trips. So really, I'm asking you to take a motion to approve this, but I'll take some questions before so you guys can understand it. So hopefully it's complicated, but hopefully you understand it.
Thank you, Lou.
All right.
During my agenda review, and I hope you guys are all doing agenda review because it does help you really wrap your brain around concepts like this because it can feel like you're pushing sideways a little bit to get to go forward. Do we have any questions? I don't see any cards up at all.
My card is in.
Okay. Oh, good. There we go. All right. So Dr. Green.
Okay, so just to be clear, are we asking for the rate to be flat? Or are we, what is the motion? What are we asking for?
So the motion is to accept the TD rate model that's going to be, so it's this very.
I got the model. I got the model.
So we want to, the LCB is accepting the rates to then give to the TD commission to accept.
Okay,
Yep.
and so the rate model, will that impact the user in any way? What, does it impact the price that they pay or
No,
would it remain the
not at all.
same? Okay.
Yep.
That's, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bonfiglio.
Maybe I'm missing something, but doesn't somebody higher up in the chain look at this and say, wait a minute, you're gaming the system. We're not going to approve that, or we're going to reduce your money, or some sort of punitive action.
So great question. And when we calculated the rate as the rate model said, I immediately got on the phone with the TD commission and said, I need to have a Zoom call with you and I want to show you some things. And we talked it out and they said, well, if you look at this number and you know this, it's a cookie cutter system that doesn't fit for everyone, really. So what I said to them was, so you're saying that I can submit any rate I want. Well, that doesn't make any sense because I can, just like you said, I can do anything I want, but they would have to accept that rate. So they would kick it back to us and say, let's look at it again. So the TD commission is going to accept this rate. They've already accepted it, but you have to accept it. Then we officially send it to them. So again, when I did this, we wanted to be reasonable because I said the same thing. I said, well, I can make it $15 if I want, and I buy more trips. And we have so many miles. We have probably the most miles in all of except for maybe Miami-Dade because they have more trips. But so I could just get more of an allocation. Well, we don't want you to do that. So that's why we felt that this is reasonable and that we worked hand in hand with the TD commission to ensure that this was fair. And
So that discussion has already taken place and we're reasonably assured that the number will be accepted, even though it seems like it may be gaming the system.
it's not gaming the system really because we're going to buy pretty much the same amount of trips we bought
Okay,
last year.
all right.
So,
Answer my
yeah.
question. Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Card went down. Okay, great. All right. Back to you.
can you talk about the relationship between the model and the rates that you are billing the end user, the client?
So the end user, it's going to be $3.50 no matter what.
So how does the model,
The rate
Interrelate
model
with it.
is that allocation of the grant
Mhm.
I can bill for that grant.
Okay.
So the TD rate model was created. Theoretically, it was created to show how much it actually costs in each area in the state. Then they were going to take that to try and use that to the legislators to increase the transit amount for the fund. It didn't work.
Okay.
And what instead it did, it showed that there's such a difference between, you know, the three counties down here are much different than Hendry County and
Mhm.
Sumter
Right,
County and
right.
all those. So they're working on changing this right now. The
Okay.
TD Commission understands that this is not working.
Okay.
Okay, they understand that. That's why they give us, one of the best things about the TD program, it allows the local CTCs, LCBs, the local entity to try and build the TD program to best serve the customers or the riders in the county. And I think that's what's the best thing is. So that's how we come to this, where it's almost like it's just an accounting thing where this is how much we're going to bill for the TD trips, but we're only getting that 1/12 no matter what. So really,
Right.
it doesn't make sense because we're putting in so much more money here in Palm Beach County, but this is part of.
So you can't really compare apples to apples because other communities have different models.
Yes,
And so when the state looks at our model and are they going to try to do a comparison to other communities to see which
So-
is most effective in terms of efficient in terms of dollars?
they do. However, if you were to go to the conference that you say, you'll see that there's like, and I think Mayor Reed saw me do this. There was I think Greg was there. In Martin County last year, there was a TD Commission meeting. And I went and we went and it was a workshop and all of this. And those that know me, if you invite me, I'm going to speak. And I did. And I was very, very candid in saying, this does not work. It's creating a system almost like like you have the Jets versus the Sharks and we're fighting each other, rurals versus urban. So it doesn't make any sense because really, you know, if you really look at who's providing the most service, it's going to be Miami-Dade, Broward, you know, us, Orange County, the big services anyway. But then the rurals are trying to fight for it. So the urban counties, our thought process is the best way to have the allocation of these funds would be in a block grant.
Right. Mhm.
Right. So for those that don't know what a block grant is, you get a grant, you spend it whatever way you want, provide more services, you don't. This doesn't make that much sense,
Right.
right? Because we're, like you're saying, we're playing with these rates and it doesn't really make that much sense because we're still going to provide more trips. We're not going to affect the actual end user. It's just how the money is moved around. So also there's a lot of things that were created years and years and years ago, and they haven't changed that in the statutes yet either.
Are these federal dollars passed through the state?
State.
They're
So
state
actually,
dollars.
for those that don't know, it's $1.50 from each registration for motorcycle, boats and vehicles.
Okay.
And that goes to the trust fund and then that's how the
Gotcha.
trust fund is
Okay.
created.
Gotcha. Okay.
Learning a lot today. This is great. Yeah. All right. Any other cards, any other questions or comments from our board? Do we have any comments from the public or online? All right. Thank you, Lou. I know that's a difficult concept, and I think in the end, the most important thing is that our end user, our rider is not affected. Their rate is not changing, and we are assuring that their rates are covered, correct? All right. So seeing that we have no further comments or questions, I am seeking a motion to adopt the CTD trip and equipment rate model for 2023 to 2024. Could I have a motion and a second?
I move to approve the CTD trip and equipment rate model 2023-2024 as set forth in our agenda action item 2C.
You got it. All right. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, Ms. Choice, thank you very much. And for this one, we can just do a yay. All right, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you guys so much. We're moving on to our information items. So we're going to talk about our transportation disadvantage monitoring program. So we are inviting Palm Trans staff to present. Hello, Lou.
Hello.
To present this item. So if you
All right,
don't
so
mind,
we'll
sir.
make this one quick. So really what this monitoring is, it was a really, really deep dive in that CTC evaluation that you guys just saw. Okay, so the Florida Commission for Transportation Disadvantage actually contracted with Thomas Howe Ferguson, PA, to perform the on-site monitoring tests of the Community Transportation Coordinator, which is the CTC. The first goal was to identify any areas of non-compliance. So it was a really deep dive in what you guys saw, but even deeper. Now, the second goal is to identify any areas where there are possibilities of improvement and communicate these in the form of suggestions. And the third goal was to document it and have us respond. Now, before moving on to the next one, I will tell you that I was upset because for 2 straight monitoring systems, we had no findings at all. And we were the only CTC in all the state of Florida to not have any findings. And then unfortunately, prior year findings, there was none, but the current year findings, they found 2 applications out of the 40 that they were looking at that we didn't have on hand because they were in storage, because the people were, the folks were applied way back in 2003. So they were in archives and they didn't give us enough time to go get them from archives. So it was a finding that we didn't have the applications in hand. So that was the finding. Immediately we recertified them so that we had a valid application on hand, except they said that that's still a finding because we didn't have it. So we did that, but because of that, we did write in a new SOP and a new SOP to make sure that all applications are linked properly to our software, that there's a checklist for each eligibility. So, you know, you use these to improve anyway. So the only thing they found out of all the things they did was the 2 applications were not on hand. So I think that's it. Yes. So that's all. It was just an information item in case anybody has any questions.
SOPs matter, right?
they
Glad you
do.
have-
That's great.
it's
Yeah.
well done. All right, any public comments on this item? Any virtual? Anyone from
Madam
my
Chair.
board have anything they'd like to mention about it? No? All right, thanks, Lou. Appreciate it. So I have forced all of you to talk about yourselves and what your, oh, thank you. What, I was gonna skip it actually though. So since now that we've done it, it's only me today talking a little bit about myself and then the city and chairing this board. But I'm willing to skip it and do it next time because we've had a little bit of a longer meeting and it's not that interesting. And so Dr. Green, what we did, since I'm a relatively new chair, I'll have completed 1 year, is I asked each of our different members on our board to talk about what the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs does, what Career Source does, so that we really all had an understanding of where we spend our days and why we're here on this board. So if it's okay with you guys, I'll hold off till next meeting, and Dr. Green,
Okay.
you can present with me. We just asked for like a 5 to 8 minute conversation. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
About what your agency provides for our board and a little bit about yourself as well. Yeah, so if that's okay with you guys, I'll skip myself. Okay, cool. I mean, I'll do it. I could, obviously, I don't mind talking.
What do you skip yourself?
Oh, well, because, I mean, I'll do it.
That's
I'll
all
do
right.
it. I mean, I'm going to tell you guys all about transportation mobility and all that stuff. I could do it right now. But I've kept you guys a little bit longer and we still have a little tiny bit more to do. So I want to make sure everyone gets out before the rain as well.
So do we need a motion and a second?
No, I'm the chair. I'm the chair. I think I'm just gonna wait. I don't know. Okay, yeah. No, I'm teasing.
Yeah,
No,
I got
it's,
some more.
I think it'd be more fun to have someone else to present with as well. So thank you guys so much. If y'all want me to, anyway, we're moving along. Let's see. So we don't have anyone from SFRTA, Tri-Rail, FDOT, Palm Beach County that may want to provide anything?
Just, I have a couple more slides.
Yeah,
you
go
guys.
for it.
Yeah. So.
Thank you so much, Lou.
No problem. Again, I want to make sure that I always hit the goals that you guys, the board has always wanted certain numbers, so I want to make sure I present them properly. But I wanted to give you a quick update. Again, won't keep it too long, but Palm Trans Service update real quick. So ridership across all modes, that means fixed route, Palm Tran Connection, and Go Glades in March. These are the numbers I had when I had to give the presentation. Is all increased by 18.4%. So we've actually seen a 12.27 increase since 2022. So ridership is going up. Okay. So ridership in as I said, fiscal year 2023 is currently 15.1 higher than 2022. So pre-COVID, we're getting back there. We're currently transporting about 29,000 passengers or riders daily, weekly. Go Glades is actually the service that has seen the most increase. We're actually doing over 10,400 passengers a day, which is amazing. And in March 2023, we had the highest monthly ridership since March 2020 in all of our modes. So interesting enough for Palm Trend Connection, for January, February, and March of this year, we actually saw a 30% increase in ridership compared to the previous year. So things are going up again. So it's hard to see for those that can't see it. This is just kind of a graph. And I wanted to show you how it looked in 2019. That's the highest line right there. It's a red number, the red line there. So in 2019, October, we had 92,000 riders. And then of course the pandemic came and we went down. But we're creeping back up to show you what it kind of looks like. So I was going to pull this up earlier, but I want to make sure everyone understands what the Palm Trend Connection service looks like in Palm Beach County. I actually have another map that Greg was nice enough to do, but I thought this was interesting for you guys to see. So this is a map of Palm Beach County. All right. The dark lines that are kind of linear are the bus routes. Okay. So those are the bus routes. And then the light pink that are around those bus routes is the ADA mandate of 3/4 of a mile. But what we do here in Palm Beach County is we extended that area, and the darker purple is the extended area that we really don't have to do. So we've extended that area. And then of course, TD is the whole county. So just always wanted to let you guys understand that. So quickly for the TD ridership in February, we had 8,696 riders with 10 raw complaints, 5 valid. March, 9,458 with 8 raw complaints and 6 valid. And in April, we had 8,933 with 4 raw complaints and 4 valid. Most of them were discourteous or late drop off. I will say overall, and this is, I think, my last slide. Well, not my last. Overall, in April, I'll say we had 115 complaints, only 42 being valid, but we had 182 commendations. So it really shows that our riders really are happy with the service. And really quickly, I wanted to throw this out there because this is really an important thing. On March 16th, 2023, we had advocates go up to Tallahassee for Transportation Disadvantage Legislative Day. A bus full of advocates went up. It's a group of nonpartisan volunteers who meet with the legislators on behalf of Palm Beach County residents. And they really hit them hard to say, keep the funding, increase the funding. It's the 22nd year these advocates have gone up. And there's folks that are blind. There's senior citizens. There's all kinds of disabilities. It's an amazing thing. There's some pictures here. And there they are with the bus and meeting with some of the legislators. But I want to let you guys know that it's really cool that we have a bunch of advocates here that do that on behalf of the other advocates. And fortunately enough, we actually have $5,000 earmarked in the Office of Equal Opportunities budget to pay for a portion of this, but it doesn't pay for the whole portion of it. So these advocates actually raise their own money to go on this trip every year. So it's really cool. So I think that's my presentation. Yes. So
I wonder if we'd ever have the opportunity to speak to one of the advocates or have them just call in one time for 2-3 minutes and hear about what it's like.
they're
up there.
more than willing to come and say hello.
Okay, great.
Talk about it. Actually, one of the advocates, Carolyn Lapp, who's the president of the Florida Outreach Center for the Blind here in Palm Beach County, she was asked to speak in front of everyone, and she spoke at the podium, and it was great. She did a great job.
Thumbs up from the board. Would that be interesting for you guys? Okay, great.
Yeah,
Can we look into
Carolyn,
that, please?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Lou. We appreciate that data every time. Really makes a big difference. Okay, so I don't see any other partner agencies. So a few administrative items. Our next meeting is August 23rd, 2023. The fiscal year 2024 activities, you guys all have a printout of that. Please make sure that you mark out your calendars so that we have a quorum. If for some reason you don't have an alternate, please grab one. Let's get rid of that. I think we were missing 9 alternates.
Yes,
So
9.
let's add that to one of our board goals that we get that down maybe halfway for the next meeting, right? So let's, if Greg, would you be so kind as to let us know if we need an alternate so that we can work on it between now and the next meeting?
Yes, I'll send correspondence out.
I
Yes.
appreciate that. Okay, thank you so much. And then personally, I was, as chair of the TPA board, we went to Austin for a peer exchange recently and learned a lot about the ridership there post-COVID. And when we said that we were running at about 90%, I think was it 30, Valerie, that they were back at about 30% in Austin of ridership. So that's an extraordinary, and Austin, we were there for a peer exchange because they are similar to us. They're growing and expanding, flat and hot, right? That's what we are. And so if we're at 90% here with Palm Train, that's saying something pretty remarkable. So I just wanted to mention that. And then I also want to absolutely thank Takesha Saffold for her service as our vice chair for the last year and a half. And our board very much welcomes Win Dang. Thank you so much for coming on board and being here. And then lastly, one last thank you to everyone who took the time, Mr. Bonfiglio taking 3 days to make phone calls. I know for me, it was several hours of my life that were really rewarding. So let's do it again next year, and we'll look at what the goals Greg sets for us to see if we can smash them again, right? So thank you guys all so much for the CTC evaluations and the ride findings. So that is about it. If there is nothing else, I will close this meeting. Thank you all so much for your attendance.
So